We are here with round 3 of 5 here at the Sunday Father's Day doubleheader PC weekend at Psycho Tournament Play in collaboration with POW Gaming. Again, these names might be familiar, especially if you watched part of the stream yesterday, because from what I heard, there was some shenanigans happening with Tyler Deacy's team. He is running it back with the same team. They're running it back with the same team versus Aaron Brok, who you guys have all seen a couple of times as well. So I'm very excited, hoping to be able to see Tyler's specific Pokemon with that specific move on here, because I am crossing my fingers, hoping to be able to see it. It's outrage, but not outrage.
No, it's a move that was introduced in the Pokemon Legends Arceus game, which now for some reason is legal on a certain little fire dog.
Hey, it's technically its ancestors move, so I guess, like, you know, the generational stuff that passes down, I can understand that and see it, right? Like, at some point it reawakens in them. And I mean, we really do have to start thinking about all of the moves that all the Hisuian Pokemon will be bringing. I mean, we already have the Headlong Rush, which technically I think was Ursaluna's signature move in Legends Arceus, but we are going to have access to that now with like the Great Tusk stuff. But we kind of split it for you guys already. If you did not watch stream yesterday, it is that Raging Fury that is going to be on an Arcanine. It is one of those very fun things. But Aaron's team is going to be that Chiyu, Gyarados, Amoonguss, Iron Hands, Fluttermane, and Tinglu versus Tyler's team of Mousehole Family 4, the Golden Go, Agathatel, Screamtail, Arcanine, and Chanpao. I always love seeing Screamtail. I think it's such a fun Pokemon.
Screamtail is definitely one of those Pokemon that, if played well, can either annoy your opponent or can help you set up, because I don't want to be like the person saying this, but if you use Howl on Screamtail and you have it to perfectly set up with a physical Pokemon like that Arcanine, that could get out of hand. But sadly, Howl on Screamtail is not a popular move choice in this current metagame.
Yeah, I mean, like it. Howl on Screamtail specifically, Howl did have like its wild moment in the sun at some point. So again, you are going to see Aaron and Tyler's team on your screen. Really interesting that we have at least like 3, like, you know, the most popular, obviously, of the 4 Ruinous Pokemon here. And we also like that Tinglu kind of like really so scary Pokemon to look at sometimes, but Gyarados as well, being able to bring in sort of intimidates, not really as useful here against Tyler's team when you're really looking at their team as a whole, right? You've got basically that heavy special attacker with that Golden Go, and you've got Arcanine, which is your physical attacker alongside sort of like that Chanpao, but it's more or less that the Golden Go is doing the heavy carrying for this. I
mean, the Intimidate's not so bad against Arcanine and Chanpao, because I mean, even though we do see heavy item choices from Tyler's side, which Choice Band and then the sort of Ruin ability on its own, you know, maybe the Intimidate will matter on a few instances. It's just not going to matter as much. And as you mentioned the 3 Ruinous Pokemon, I was about to mention there's a live Rochian reaction at home.
Yeah. The other big thing too, though, is if you're looking at this, like, right, the Chiyu is also kind of an interesting choice to bring in if you're expecting sort of an Arcanine from Tyler, because Tyler does have Flash Fire on that Arcanine, and so, you know, you're able to eat up flamethrowers for every single day that you would like and not have to worry about them. I mean, even after like you sort of tear out. So
yeah, I'm just wondering what Tyler's lead's going to be, because I can see like 2 or 3 different leads from his side. One of those leads actually... Oh, I'm sorry about that. I'm a little sorry I didn't see that on the sheets. But yeah, we're going to see what Tyler has in store, and I see different leads from him, and we're going to see the very obvious one of Chanpao Arcanine.
Yeah.
And for Aaron, it's going to be Gyarados Fluttermane. The Intimidate going to affect both physical attackers and then the Fluttermane.
Yeah, I think the really crazy part here is that your Tyler's definitely going aggressive, right? The Arcanine and Chanpao is saying, I have attackers, I'm going to use them, and Aaron's lead is responding in kind, saying, I'm just going to ignore all that, because now the Gyarados has perfect targets for those Intimidates. And honestly, this Arcanine kind of in a weird spot, right? You have to worry about the Gyarados being able to go for the waterfalls here. Sure, you have access to Wild Charge for the Arcanine as well, but that minus attack with the Intimidate could hurt a little bit. And Gyarados has options, obviously, to be able to like sort of turn around for that. We've seen a little bit of a rise in popularity with defensive terroring for Gyarados in terms of like a fairy type terrestrialization, thanks to Brian Yum. And Chanpao actually going to leave the field here. The Chanpao saying, I don't like my sort of Ruin helping everybody out, so we're actually going to bring out the Golden Go. And Golden Go here kind of might be an awkward spot if like that Fluttermane at any point was able to be like, oh, cool, I've got a target now.
I mean, it probably wasn't anticipating the Dazzling Gleam or Moonblast into that slot because the big Dark to Fairy weakness, as we do see Terra Fairy come out from Aaron's own Gyarados, so now you're no longer weak to the Wild Charge. We do see the Flutter Mane Protect. I was actually also going to point out, Flutter Mane did get a booster energy for speed, so it's most likely winning the speed type, and it was the Wild Charge, so now it's neutral, and now it's locked into that for until it switches out. But
yeah, I mean, kind of good choice there from Tyler, but Arcanine is going to have to take back that waterfall. Super effective damage is going to get it down into that yellow, almost red range. No HP recovery because it is a choice banded Arcanine. And I think you really have to just sort of like decide in that moment, like, oh, what do we do? Because if that Gyarados, you know, was terrestrialized, then you're in that spot you're in right now. But if it didn't, then you're sort of like, oh, you're going to lose it because of Wild Charge.
Yeah, that's unfortunately just like the things with that Arcanine right now. Losing that battle is not the greatest. As we see it swap over Screen Tail, we're going to see it activate its own booster energy. I'm likely assuming this is going to be the speed one. That's like the most popular one. We've seen all Screen Tails since Orlando, and there it is, the speed multiplier.
Yeah, so at least getting that extra speed boost. But Gyarados also leaving the field is just not going to want to play here as Iron Hands comes and takes the place of that Gyarados with that Fairy Terrestrialization. We're actually going to see a Terrestrialization on the Golden Go from Tyler's side. Is going to be a Water Terrestrialization. The more popular variant it feels in like recent memory or recent series, just because, again, it's just a great defensive typing for that Golden Go, even though you lose like maybe extra damage output. But now you're going to have the Shadow Ball from the Fluttermane going into the Golden Go still does a considerable amount of damage, but this Golden Go on Tyler's side is free to go for that Nasty Plot. Now does get that +2 to special attack.
The Leftover is going to go ahead and recover some HP for their Goldango. And Fake Out's obviously a play we can see here. We did see a Shadow Ball come out from Fluttermane to what was now the Water-type Goldango, so no longer super effective. So good on Tyler, good for them to get the weakness out. However, this is a free Fake Out turn for Iron Hands, and I'm likely thinking...
no Fake Out turn, because it does not have access to Fake Out.
I see it now. Interesting. Okay, I just assumed every Iron Hands had Fake Out.
No, less Iron Hands are running Fake Out just because you're running it more offensively than ever before, and you kind of see that with Aaron's Iron Hands right here, right? It was choosing for the moment to lock into something like Thunder Punch, and going to be doing super effective damage into that Golden Go with that Water Terrestrialization. But Fluttermane going to go for the Protect on this turn. Is going to make sure it doesn't get hit by anything else. Actually, Golden Go also responds in kind with its own Protect. We're going to see that obviously that Fluttermane is going to go first because it's definitely faster. Ooh. But Scream Tail actually going for Disable and is unable to land with that Fluttermane because of that Protect, leaving its Iron Hands free to attack, but that Thunder Punch going to go into the own Protect on Golden Go. So both of these Pokemon, just sort of like an interesting turn trying to see where things target it, but more importantly, this Golden Go is able to get back a little bit more of the HP that it lost.
I'm looking at Goldango right now for Tyler, and I don't know if their Goldango is going to be enough damage to knock out that Iron Hands. I mean, we know it's not as tough as we saw Story Stance and Detect, but Make It Rain is resisted by the electric typing on that Iron Hands. Terra Blast, maybe he's doing half damage with that.
It is at +2.
Yeah, I was going to say, it might do half damage with that Terra Blast because it's at neutral, but I'm more so looking at that Screen Tail because they tried to disable the Shadow Ball last turn. Now we're going to see Moonblast into the Goldango. Not enough to take the knockout thanks to the Leftovers recovery. And
oh, nice.
Now,
the disable actually going into the Iron Hands instead. So no Thunder Punch ability here as Goldango is able to go for the Make It Rain. Picks up the knockout on Fluttermane very easily. Again, at +2 is going to be a +1 now thanks to that special attack drop from the effects of Make It Rain. Fluttermane going down on this turn. So the disable, last turn would have been okay regardless, but Drain Punch instead. So Aaron saying, you know what, I know you're going to go after the Thunder Punch, but I am going to go instead now for that Drain Punch, get back a little bit of the HP that I lost thanks to that Make It Rain.
Yeah, a little unfortunate. Tyler got that read a little incorrect there. Thinking Thunder Punch is super obvious, but Drain Punch, it's neutral. It's not. It's pretty much safe to go for it in that slot, knowing that you had all that Pokemon. Now the Gyarados comes back in. But we can see Arcanine trying to sneak its way back in, and we do.
Yeah, it's I think just a little rough spot for Tyler here, right? They're in a position where their damage output isn't as strong as they needed to be, and they have good ways to deal with the Iron Hands, but then you still have to worry about that Gyarados, especially because you don't have a way to sort of save that Arcanine, right? Like it is technically a dark type Terrestrialization, which would have been great as a defensive one, but we saw it already used on that Golden Go, so it's really kind of Tyler on the back foot here as Aaron's just sort of accelerating and just saying, hey, you don't really have as much of ways to sort of get rid of my Pokemon right now, I'm gonna capitalize on it.
Yeah, and we're seeing Aaron debate his turn here with his Iron Hands. I still think Raging Fury is going to do a lot of damage to both the Iron Hands and the Gyarados, even with that Intimidate. I mean, Screen Cell's not going to stay around because that player up's doing almost no damage, and Disable's pretty much offline right now. As I think this is a Raging Fire play coming in from Tyler as they bring in their Chien-Pao to activate the Sword of Ruin, but Gyarados also switching out.
Yeah, so Gyarados is not going to want to stay on the field. Chiyu coming in, so two ruinous Pokemon bringing down the stats of everyone around them right now, especially defensively. So honestly, Iron Hands is like, I don't want to have to worry about this. It's going to go for the Detect on this turn to see. Yep, there it is.
It got to connect!
The Raging Fury, so is going to connect into that. Chiyu does a lot of damage still, despite the not effective damage. Just this goes to show you just how well these ruinous Pokemon can sort of turn the tide of damages.
The problem now for Tyler is that their Arcanine is now locked into Raging Fury for the next 2 turns at most. It needs to be another turn, meaning Gyarados can just come in and get another Intimidate for that Chiyu and get a good recovery with that Citrus Berry, barring a critical hit.
Yeah, I honestly think, like, hey, you know what, if you can get rid of like the Chien-Pao, then you're kind of in a great spot because the Arcanine's not that big of a threat here. The Gyarados comes back in, we know that it's still Terrestrial Fairy here, still at really good health, has access to Waterfall, and is able to get an Intimidate down onto Arcanine now. It's gonna be at -1 with that Intimidate. Ice Spinner from Chien-Pao is gonna go into the Iron Hands. Is able to get it down to under half health.
Oh.
Raging Fury targets into the Iron Hands in this turn.
Oh no!
Is unable to pick up the knockout that might have potentially been a roll, and now the Arcanine is going to be confused thanks to the secondary effects of that. Drain Punch is going to activate the Focus Sash here on that Chien-Pao and get back a lot of the health that it just lost from that Raging Fury. So Arcanine, you know, doing its best, but not enough to just get that last bit of HP out.
The confusion now for Tyler is going to play a big detrimental role because Aaron's in a great spot right now in terms of his Pokemon. However, if Arcanine get off one Raging Fire onto that randomly chosen Iron Hand slot, that's a knockout, and then that Gyarados, not in a great spot, but we do know there's a Screen Tail in the back. And yes, as a reminder, Thunder Punch is still disabled.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's Aaron's game to lose at this point, right? Because Scream Tail is like basically full in the back, but it really has access to Play Rough. So I guess Tyler is now currently saving that Chien-Pao for and letting the Scream Tail go down. It is technically at full health, so could take a couple of attacks. And now we're gonna see if this Arcanine is able to break through that confusion for this turn.
It does.
It's able to do so, and that Raging Fury is gonna be able to connect into that Gyarados. Unable to pick up the knockout though, and is instead gonna activate the berry on Gyarados.
Yeah, again, if that went to the Iron Hands, that probably takes the knockout here, but instead we're going to see a Thunder Wave go into the Arcanine. No Waterfall, surprisingly. Just make sure that you outspeed it guaranteedly, thanks to the half reduction of speed. Through that Paralysis, Drain Punch into the Screen Tail, going to do no damage thanks to double resistance. Yeah,
and I also wonder too if that you're going to try to stack up as many negatives as you can onto this Arcanine, right? Because now you have to worry about breaking through the confusion, and if you break through the confusion, can you break through the Paralysis chance as well? And then your Arcanine also has to potentially target down the proper Pokemon for Raging Fury. So a lot of different factors kind of stacking against Tyler here, and they really do have to decide like what their best course of action is, because that's sort of the downside of using something like Raging Fury and Outrage, is that you're not really in control of what Pokemon gets targeted.
And that's the problem right now, because including all of that factoring into their Arcanine, Gyarados could just outspeed it now with the Paralysis, but that also depends on how Pokemon are trained. Play Rough not going to be enough to knock the Iron Hands thanks to a good physical bulk. We see another Thunder Wave go out into the Screen Tail, so now that guarantees Aaron's speed is in his control. He'll be winning these battles as Thunder Punch takes the knockout on an Arcanine.
Yeah, so honestly, I think Aaron's just making sure that, hey, I want to make sure that as much as possible your Pokemon have the very little chances to move at some point, or that like a put speed in my favor in some way. Because now, sure, you have this Scream Tail that is paralyzed and like maybe slightly hurt, but this Chien-Pao with its Focus Sash already procced does only have that 1 HP left. This Iron Hands is actually being an absolute champ for Aaron, being able to hold on through 2 of those turns.
And I have to wonder for Tyler now, there's 2 ways you could go with this Chien-Pao with this Ice Spinner. You knock out either Pokemon, I assume, in this position. But it's just like, do you rely on the Paralysis for the for the Screen Tail, and then you get the knockout with Ice Spinner into the Gyarados slot? Because that's where I'm drawing the question, because yeah, we're gonna see it swatch up into the Chi-Yu, obviously. I'm just wondering where Ice Spinner is going.
Yeah, I think part of it too is that if you're Tyler, you have to weigh the pros and consequences of relying on that paralysis as well. But Qianpao's Ice Spinner is going to go into what was that Gyarados spot. Is that Chi-Yu also able to hold on this turn, as Iron Hands is going for the Drain Punch, is going to pick up that easy 1 HP on the Qianpao, knocking it out, getting back 1 HP as well, so putting it into 11. So this Scream Tail is at least able to, if it connects the play rough here, is able to pick up a knockout on anything it wants. Is going to be that Iron Hands, and the Gyarados is going to come back in with that Fairy Terrestrialization. It's going to get Intimidate down into the Scream Tail, which actually is going to matter because Play Rough is a physical move.
Yeah, Play Rough physical. You know, it was I think it was also important for them to stay in this game, find out speedsters with that paralysis, and it's pretty informational to know that Aaron's Iron Hands actually does outspeed the Screen Tail without the booster energy and with the paralysis.
Yeah, I also wonder if, like, at some point too, like, there is a way that you could possibly win that. Like, that's a lot of damage with that Dark Pulse and Waterfall. Not quite enough to pick up the knockout here on Scream Tail, but does have the flinch with that Waterfall, and also still have to worry about the paralysis potentially as well. So Tyler, kind of just seeing the writing on the wall, is turning in game 1 as they prepare for game 2.
Are you sure they flinches from Waterfall? Dark Pulse can flinch as well.
Oh yeah. So I just always assume it's gonna be a Waterfall flinch.
Yeah.
At some point, a Gyarados is gonna get a Waterfall flinch.
But what if that was the Chi-Yu that got the flinch?
I'm giving the credit to Gyarados.
Wow, you don't want to respect the little fire goldfish?
No, it's fine.
Wow. This is
but so, like, looking at game 2 right now, we just kind of wonder, I think the lead there was really well done for Aaron, right? They were able to get the double Intimidate down onto 2 of Tyler's Pokemon that sort of did not want those Intimidates down. And I think the Qianpao in that moment, like in that opening turn, not really able to offer as much as it could have. And I think, you know, when you're looking at the Arcanine as well, the Arcanine has a lot of offensive capabilities, but once you're facing against Terra typings that you can't really touch, then you're in an awkward position where you have to just hope that Raging Fury targets something correctly.
Yeah, there's also another thing, because even though we got the Intimidate was correct, that Screen Tail wasn't really able to use his utility well, because I got an incorrect call into Disable, and another Disable opportunity went after a Protect.
Yeah, I am wondering. The Scream Tail actually is really, I think, offered a lot in that matchup in terms of, like, trying to force and make sure that, like, if you can turn off one of the moves in that moment, then at least you don't have to worry about it for a couple turns. You can play around that move not existing anymore. And, you know, it was able to at least hang on until the end. And I think there was a chance at some point where Tyler was able to, like, potentially swing it around. But I think now you're looking at it and seeing, hey, that Iron Hand was able to survive a lot more. And obviously we can see it here that Aaron, I don't think, was expecting it to survive as much, because there was a little bit of, like, okay, cool, we have this. So I think if you're Tyler, you have to kind of remember that and just sort of possibly play around the chances that Iron Hands may be bulkier than you expected, because of all the fact that it survived so many different hits.
Yeah, we see completely differently for Tyler as they lead the Mousehold Goldango combo alongside Aaron's Chi-Yu and Iron Hands. So this, to me, sounds like a pretty good Terra bait right now for Aaron.
Yeah, I actually kind of like this sort of change up here from Tyler. The Goldengo and the Mousehold, also a really great partner for Goldengo, right? Like, you've got the Friend Guard, so you're reducing a lot of damage, and you've got the ability to sort of, like, draw any sort of attention away. And normally when you have something like Scream Tail with Disable, right, you partner with something with, like, Encore, so the Mousehold also has access to Encore, so you could lock in your opponent to a move. You obviously can't lock in Iron Hands into anything like a Fake Out, but if it ever goes for something like Swords Dance, you could. But Mousehold protecting is like, I'm not going to draw attention away from Goldengo this turn, I'm just going to protect, and actually double protect here from Tyler.
Yeah, because I was watching and wonder what was Aaron's move here, because yeah, the Heat Wave is probably a little obvious here, because even if it does get redirected, like, away from the Goldengo, again, I'm telling you this right now, this could be a big Terra bait for Aaron, because it probably forces Tyler to use their Terrestrialization onto the Goldengo and go water, but it's tough to call, because it's like, do you want to Terra that early, or do you just swap out the Goldango? As we did see Drain Punch go into the Mousehold as well.
Yeah, it's like a really rough sort of call for Tyler to make because either way you're going to get hit with something super effective potentially. And I actually really appreciate the turn 1 double protect here from the Golden Goal and the Mouse Hole because at least you're able to see what your opponent is thinking and yet trying to figure out what they would follow that up with. And so both both Iron Hands and Chew have a way to touch that Golden Goal, which is a huge damage output. We are going to see a terrestrialization actually on this turn.
This is Tyler.
Yeah, it is going to be that Golden Go with that water typing. So you don't have to worry about the heat waves, but you do have to worry about those thunder punches. But we saw that because the Drain Punch went into the Mouse Hold, that potentially Aaron is seeing that Mouse Hold as more of a threat. As Population Bomb with the Wide Lens gets 1 critical hit down and has a potential for 10 hits in here. It keeps on going and going, and
7.
it's going to put it down to almost knockout range.
Oh,
that might actually make knocked out. Ooh! The 10 hits that crit actually matters here is able to survive on 1 HP, and that Mouse is still able to hang on as Golden Go goes for the nasty plot on this turn. Is going to get a +2 to its special attack. Iron Hands going for the Drain Punch. This Mouse did all that it could. Is going to go down on this turn. That 1 HP for that Chew, able to get that Mouse down into the red, giving the easy knockout for Iron Hands. That was with a critical hit too.
Wow, I mean the critical hit on the second attack definitely didn't matter, but it looked like it was doing around 13 HP per hit, which without Technician definitely does look underpowered, even though we did need a Vanguard to mitigate the heat wave damage. But as the Arcanine comes in here, this looks like a pretty good time for going for the Raging Fury on their Arcanine, but Goldango here isn't a bit of a weird spot, even though it did go for that nasty pot, because like I don't think Dark Pulse will be enough to take a knockout, but how does Goldango respond here?
Yeah, because you're also in a spot where like you are faster than the Iron Hands, and the Arcanine is here as well, right? So if you knock out the Chi before like the Arcanine can maybe go first, right? So it's kind of a rough spot for Aaron because you have to really decide which one do you see as more of a threat. And the Chi is actually going to leave the battlefield this turn. Is like, you know what? I survived with 1 HP. I'm going to take that and go. And Gyarados is going to come out to the field. Is going to get intimidated down into that Arcanine. More importantly, is going to knock it down 1 stage of attack. So going to make sure that any damage it outputs isn't as terrible. Extreme Speed actually goes into the Iron Hand spot instead, as Golden Go goes for a Terra Blast. Is going to be Terra Blast Water. Is going to go into that Iron Hand spot. This is that +2, is unable to knock it out, and so is going to get knocked out of its troubles with that Thunder Punch from that Iron Hand. I think that one actually was pretty close as well. So the Iron Hand, Aaron's Pokemon are just surviving with just like the barest bit of HP left here, but that should put it within Extreme Speed knockout range. But now you also still have to worry about the Arcanine, or sorry, about the Gyarados as well.
The problem here for Tyler is that his Arcanine is locked into Extreme Speed for the rest of the game, so it's down to 7 Extreme Speeds left at maximum. So you're in a very bad spot nonetheless, and even though the Chien-Pao will be helping out with that Intimidate negation with the Sword of Ruin, I think this might be a little too late, as I think it would have been a really, again, I guess you didn't really know if Extreme Speed was going to do enough damage other than that Raging Fury, but again, that Gyarados is just coming in.
Yeah, I think the part too here is like if you're looking at Tyler's side, right? They are doing everything I think correctly in terms of like targeting Pokemon. The problem is that Aaron's Pokemon are just holding on by the bare skin of their teeth, and Gyarados actually gonna get manually switched out here, so saving him maybe an Intimidate for later on as Chi rejoins the field with that 1 HP after the 10 Population Bomb hits. And Iron Hand's actually gonna protect because, you know, being at like knockout range with that Extreme Speed is a little bit rough, but Arcanine actually gonna go after the Chi instead, so that is going to be a potential free switch in for that Gyarados to get another Intimidate down to the Arcanine. And now that Chien-Pao is going to go for Ice Spinner, but we'll have no target just because of the fact that the Iron Hands is protected.
And then another Intimidate comes down, and more lucky goes down. Oh wait, there's the Flutter Mane in the back. If Chien-Pao goes down, this is game over.
Yeah, it's just a really rough spot, I think, for Tyler, right? They have to decide if they want to reset the Arcanine's moves as well. Flutter Mane finally... Oh, sorry. They can't reset that. So is just going to be an Extreme Speed forever as Flutter Mane finally takes the field here.
And that's the thing, you don't have to terrestrialize with the Flutter Mane, you just have to make sure you can knock out the Chien-Pao, but because the Arcanine hit the last turn, it's in a predicament where you could probably go for that Drain Punch onto the Arcanine, onto the Chien-Pao, but if you don't knock it out, Because again,
Ooh.
I feel like the game plan now for Aaron is to knock out the champ out and you just win the game without problem.
If Tyler can at least knock out maybe the Flutterman, they might have a chance. But this Gyarados is now putting this Arcanine at -3 attack, so even that Choice Band is not doing much for it at all. As Extreme Speed goes into that Gyarados, still does actually some pretty decent damage there. Dazzling Gleam now also going to activate the
Not quite.
Oh, sorry. So it doesn't actually really matter the champ because it's gonna get knocked out in like the next turn anyways. Fluttermane is gonna get down to half health. Still actually could be. Oh no, yeah, if you protect the Fluttermane here, that extreme speed still won't knock.
I mean, it is in Sucker Punch range, and we're gonna see rotation of Intimidates, and this Arcanine, even though it's at -2 with the Sword of Ruin, did an okay amount of damage. Iron Hand's likely to sacrifice here for this extreme speed here. We got Fluttermane to obviously protect here, just avoid potential Sucker Punch into that slot. Yeah, another Intimidate, maybe. Oh, Champa protects actually. I was expecting a Sucker Punch. Well, let's see what this Arcanine does here. Can extreme speed? Yeah, very obvious.
Yeah. So I mean, that just means that the Gyarados gets another Intimidate down with this Arcanine, but actually, interestingly enough, you're kind of still in it in a really awkward way. Like, I don't think you'll get enough extreme speed damage into the Gyarados. But honestly, this Arcanine is just slowly getting like knocked down in terms of like its attack damage. I don't even know if an extreme speed would even knock out the Fluttermane at this range anymore.
There's another read. I feel like another mind game comes in here. Does the Fluttermane terrestrialize? Because if you don't terrestrialize the Fluttermane, you're susceptible to Sucker Punch KO because of the neutrality and Fluttermane's poor defense stat, but you are -2 with that Qianpao. But if you read the terrestrialization, that's a free extreme speed into that slot.
It's just it's rough going regardless of like what you do. Oh yeah, actually that's a good point. Oof, this is I still think that Tyler has to do a lot of work to get themselves back into this game, but at this point, right, like
that's the thing. Did Tyler read the Terra? That's what it comes down to now.
I don't see a pop-off from Tyler, so I don't think there was a read on the terrestrialization, right? So that's still a rough going.
I mean, let's see where his extreme speed goes. It did not go into the Fluttermane, sadly.
But it still was like, at least able to get that Gyarados down. This Gyarados was just like, you know, I'm gonna hang on to, and I'm just gonna eat back up this health, get back the Citrus Berry stuff. Ice Spinner, or sorry, Qianpao going for the Sucker Punch is not gonna be able to pick up the knockout now here, but Fluttermane is like, I can knock you out with Dazzling Gleam, even though you know you had very little HP left. Arcanine eats that up, but is not gonna be able to take any sort of waterfall damage from this Gyarados.
No, not really. And yeah, that was the terrestrialization I was thinking was going to happen. Let's see, this waterfall does take the knockout. It does take the knockout, and that is another 2-0 for Aaron Brok, and that's pretty convincing. Especially considering that last turn terrestrialization actually saved Fluttermane.
Yeah, I mean, part of it too is that like this is also one of those where I think Aaron's Pokemon were able to really, like, them hanging on in those moments like really made the difference, right? Like, sure, the population bomb was able to get at least one critical hit down, but at the end of the day, all of those Pokemon survived was just it really just comes down to how much damage can your Pokemon take to keep you in the game, because sometimes actually Pokemon getting not knocked out is also just as bad depending on the situation. So
I mean, that's the way that people train their Pokemon. You know, sometimes they race them like be very speedy, sometimes very bulky. You know, maybe even a mix, but all that bulk was just too much for Tyler to handle, and he couldn't get any offensive damage going, and when he did, it was too little too late.
They were able to get offensive like stuff going. The problem is also that like at the end of the day, the 1 HP being able to hang on is also really rough for them, right? So it just goes to show that like sometimes this game goes in wildly different ways than we expect. There's also pizza here, so we are going to go take a quick break, and then we will be back for your round 4.